Many would say that some of the lawmakers have never been lobbied as hard as they have been over this particular AI Act. What's the takeaway for companies trying to build?
That's a great question. So right now it's a big celebratory day here in Brussels. I think last time I was speaking to you, it was after almost 40 hours of negotiations in mid-December. Fast forward, 3 months, and now we have the Parliament signing off on this act. And while it's not a celebration, we are getting lots of concerns, of course, from tech companies. They've been really sounding the alarm bells for quite some time about overregulation, concerns that the European continent will be behind because they're regulating much more ahead than their U.S. Counterparts. We also have this concern, of course, from European tech companies too, and startups who say, "Hey, we really want to compete with U.S. hyperscalers, and you can't overregulate us. If you overregulate us, we will never have a chance to actually compete."
Okay, I'm Mistral, and I am building large language models, and I'm based in Europe. Now that the act is passed, this is done. What is it that I actually have to do to comply?
So there are a few things. I mean, I guess it's good to look at the EU's approach as a risk-based approach. So for the most part, they're actually just regulating the use of the technology, not the technology itself. So this means that in practice, the EU will be banning, the worst possible misuses of AI. So AI systems cannot be used to, perform emotional recognition in workplaces or schools, cannot be used for social scoring, so giving citizens a score based on their behavior. When it comes to high-risk situations, though, these are some of the more tricky ones. This is, AI systems being used for migration applications or certain job applications. A lot of these companies like OpenAI or Mistral will have to perform a lot more checks in order to prove to regulators that they're safe. The one exception that a lot of companies like Mistral were really lobbying hard against were these additional controls to general purpose or generative AI. And these were not based on the use of AI, but this was explicitly regulating the technology itself. And in the end, what these companies will have to do is perform or kind of prove to regulators, their energy consumption, prove that they are actually complying with copyright laws. And there's a new AI office that will be based in Brussels and that the EU is currently setting up. This will actually kind of operate almost like a police force where they can go to the likes of Mistral, OpenAI, Microsoft, whomever, and say, "Hey, we want more data on how you've trained your large language model." And ultimately, they can even ban an application if it's performing poorly.
Jillian, Mistral has indeed partnered with Microsoft, and one expert saying that EU lawmakers, they've got played in this particular situation. Why will this not be a read across to just how the rest of the world adopts AI legislation?
I think it's really interesting because last year we saw lots of these tech companies even pushing for regulation. We had Sam Altman, obviously, in Congress, as everyone knows, pushing for regulation. And so we've had that obviously in Brussels, but while they've been arguing for regulation, they've also been simultaneously lobbying quite hard against some of the worst or the strictest controls that they've seen in Brussels. Mistral was a really clear-cut case of that. Last year, they were really effective in getting the French government, also Aleph Alpha, a German startup, really pushing these governments saying, "Hey, if you overregulate us, then we will not be able to compete with US companies." Now, fast forward 4 or 5 months, they were obviously partnered with Microsoft. And so that's left a kind of a bad taste in a lot of lawmakers' mouths. But we also have lots of other companies that are really, signing on for voluntary commitments, trying to prove to governments they're taking this seriously, that they're taking as many commitments as possible. But I think more and more regulators are starting to wake up to that tech companies might be self-serving.